Hey guys, it's Maddie and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to go over my acne story, how I am healing and managing hormonal adult acne. Let's get right into it with my acne story. So growing up, I never really had many pimples or many breakouts. To be honest, very few. And if I did have one, it was like a one-off on my forehead or my chin or my cheek, but it wasn't a huge concern of mine until I turned I want to say 17 or 18. And then that's when the breakouts along my jawline started and I would have more deep, cystic, painful acne. I have very dehydrated to combination skin, so my forehead gets really oily, but then my cheeks are pretty normal, my nose gets oily, my T-zone gets oily, my chin is oily but flaky, so that's why it's dehydrated. Hormonal acne usually comes in the form of deep cysts, typically along your jawline and your chin area. And those are very big, painful, deep red bumps. They don't really turn into a whitehead, but they're very visible to the eye and they're very painful. And if you try to pop it, nothing comes out of it. It's just squeezing it and causes more pain and harm. And if you do try to pop these, they typically lead to scarring. That's what a lot of my scarring is from, is trying to pop these cysts. And you usually can't pop them. I mean, if you try at it hard enough, you might be able to, but it hurts a lot. More along the sides of my mouth, I get what are called comedones, and those are flesh-colored bumps underneath the skin. They aren't super raised and not really red, but if you squeeze them, stuff will come out, and then that's when they turn into an angry little pimple. They're typically not very painful, and most often they are on my chin and my cheeks, and they don't really go away on their own. They kind of just hang out there until you either A, pop it and cause more damage to them, or if you treat it with an acid or an exfoliant, a chemical peel will get rid of them as well. I also struggle with fungal acne on my forehead, and that is an infected hair follicle, and they're usually little clusters of raised red bumps. Mine is from the accumulation of sweat if I'm wearing a hat, because it's right up along there. They can be itchy, not really painful either, but they are just little clusters everywhere. So I've been dealing with acne on and off for about 8 years now, and I have tried it all. I have tried every at-home remedy. I've tried all of the chemicals, toners, I'm gonna list off a few of the things I have tried and what haven't worked for me. So I have tried the infamous Vaseline slugging. I have tried putting toothpaste on your breakouts, those alcohol chemical pads. I think Oxy makes some, which they burn. If something is burning your skin, it doesn't mean that it's working. I don't know where that theory came from, but I think we've all believed it at some point. I have tried olive oil, coconut oil, birth control, different toners like that. Paula's Choice, the little black AHA or BHA or whatever toner it is. I tried that. I've tried the Sarah's Day little powders for hormonal acne. I've tried estrogen pills. I've tried no moisturizers, heavy moisturizers, lotions, all of the gels, different serums. I have tried a lot of things that are marketed towards acne, but what I didn't understand is that hormonal acne often comes from it comes from within. There's usually something up or askew with either your blood levels or your digestive system, in your gut health. So when that hormonal acne comes to the surface on your face, it's more about damage control on your skin, and that you should look into what the deeper rooted problem is, because your skin reflects what's going on the inside. Some of my acne triggers are binge eating, so eating that's because it's an overconsumption of obviously food, but all of the starches, the carbs, fats, sugars, things like that in a large quantity, and it disrupts the micro gut biome, your gut microbiome, and throws that out of whack. So then that causes all of my blood levels, my blood glucose level, to fluctuate, resulting in deep, painful pimples on my face. And it has taken me quite a few years to realize that I'm not necessarily treating the acne, but I have to find what is causing the acne and then treat that. But at the same time, I do want to focus on healing my face and healing the breakouts, because it affects my self-confidence quite a bit and makes me pretty insecure. I am pretty self-conscious about my pimples because the cystic acne is like bright red big pimples and they're quite obvious. And I am a picker, so that only makes it so much worse. Everybody's acne is very different. It is very specific to you, but I wanted to share my morning and my evening routine and my skincare and the products I use, because I found a pretty good routine that manages my acne, and I can tell when I don't do it because that's when my breakouts get worse or my skin becomes more flaky and dry, or on the opposite end, more oily. So this is a pretty balanced routine for me. So in the morning, I will typically work out and get a really good sweat on, and then I will shower and I will only wash my face with warm water, no cleanser, because I don't want to strip all of the important oils. As annoying as oily skin can be, the oils serve a purpose and kind of help create a barrier on your skin and provide nutrients to it. So you don't want to be stripping away those oils. And then I'll move on and apply a vitamin C serum. This is Ava Naturals. This I've just started using within the last couple of days, but I also really like the Indeed vitamin C and also Bliss. They have a really good one as well. And then I will follow that up with the Snail Mucin. This is another hydrating gel-like serum. And when you're using a vitamin C serum, it's really important to use an SPF because of how the serum interacts with like the sun and the UVs. It is really easy to burn with that. So I just use Coppertone Pure and Simple SPF. This is SPF 50. I really like it. I'm not too picky about my SPFs. I just like something very simple and that's going to protect me. And lastly, I follow that up with the Belief True Cream Aqua Balm Moisturizer. I love this. It is a gel, and I find gels work for my skin the best because they're not super heavy, like they're pretty lightweight and they don't clog my pores. And that is it for morning. Super easy, super simple, takes me less than 5 minutes. And then moving on to the nighttime, I work at a dairy barn, so my skin gets very, very dirty after, and I like using the Belief Creamy Cleansing Foam Moist. It lathers really nicely. A little bit of this goes a long way, so use it very sparingly, but I like how it lathers up on my skin. The Belief really works for my skin type. I am super happy with it. I ventured away from it for a little bit, and that's when my acne really flared up, so it works wonders for me. It is a little bit more on the pricey side. I get mine from either Amazon or Sephora, and I think each of like the moisturizer and the cleanser are about $50 each, but I think it's worth it because it helps me and I do notice a big difference when I use those products. And then in the evening after I clean my skin, I will follow it up with either the lactic acid from The Ordinary. And on the days I don't use the lactic acid, I will use a retinol. Right now I'm using the Good Molecules. I will alternate those. I don't really have a set routine, just kind of when I remember to use a retinol, I'll throw it in. So it's probably like only once or twice a week. For a while there was a huge phase of a huge boom of retinol, and I think people were actually overusing it. It doesn't need to be used that often. And what the retinol does is it like cycles out your skin, so it brings new skin cells to the surface, kind of like an exfoliant. And after I apply the retinol, I will then go back in with the Belief Moisture or the Aqua Balm. I use the same moisturizer morning and night. But if my skin is feeling a little dry, I will follow it up with the Good Molecules Ultra Hydrating Facial Oil. Just if I feel like my skin needs a little bit of a pick-me-up. And about once a week, instead of using the Belief cleanser, I will go in with the Nizoral Anti-Dandruff Shampoo. And this is what treats the fungal acne that I sometimes get. The same fungus that creates fungal acne also causes dandruff. So this is just to kind of clean the slate a little bit and to just make sure that there's no extra bacteria on my skin that isn't wanted. And that is all for my skincare products. Every once in a while, I'll go in with those little silicone pads as like an exfoliant, a physical exfoliant, just to get all of the dead skin cells off and to get like any extra sebum or things like that out of my skin. But again, that's not very often, probably only like once or twice a week, because you can actually like rub your skin raw and cause damage if you do use a physical exfoliant too often. And now we'll move on to some of the supplements I take to help support my gut. The first is omega-3 or fish oil. This helps with inflammation and also regulates like your oil production in your skin. I take magnesium. And this helps stabilize your hormones and also lowers cortisol, which is like your stress hormones. This also has anti-inflammatory properties to it too. Most of my acne is big inflamed bumps, so I am all about the anti-inflammatory. And lastly, I also take collagen. My favorite is the Organica brand because it is animal protein and the proteins in there increase your skin elasticity. And again, this also reduces inflammation. The last thing I wanted to address is just some lifestyle changes that I've noticed improve my acne or help it to not come back as frequently. And the first is using a silk or satin pillowcases. It reduces like the friction on your face and it doesn't like absorb as many of like the oils and the gunk that you, and like the sweat that you produce in your sleep. It's more gentle on your skin and your hair, and it's just better for you than like cotton. And also washing your sheets pretty frequently, like at least once a week, I would say, and also be mindful of what detergent you're using because that can also throw off your hormones and cause acne. Number 2 is getting a good sweat on. When you sweat, it like detoxifies your skin and it also helps with blood circulation and getting oxygen up to your skin. Number 3, I had mentioned this before, but no picking. And when I say no picking, I'm not necessarily talking about like the whiteheads or the raised bumps on your skin. I'm talking about the little things laying under the skin that you think you might see, and like if you just squeeze it, then you'll know, then you might get something out, because that often makes it into a bigger problem than it would have been before. Because if you just keep picking and poking and prodding at your skin, you're gonna cause irritation. And if you had just left it, it might have been okay. This is way easier said than done because picking is one of like my guilty pleasures. Like if you see or feel something and you're like, oh, I think I can get it. Like let me just see, let me just try. And if I have like an inkling that a pimple might be starting to form, I'll try and get ahead of it by poking at it and trying to pop it before it comes to the surface. Number 4, not everyone will struggle with this, and I had touched on it earlier, but no binge eating, because that really throws off my gut, and then I can definitely see it on my face if I have gone through a binge recently. Number 5 is I notice if I don't wash my hair frequently enough, I will really break out like behind my, not behind my ears, but like along my jawline here, like where my hair would sit. I notice that if my hair gets dirty or just has been a while in between washes, that's when I'll really start to break out. Number 6 is consuming less alcohol. My acne really started to flare up when I started drinking alcohol, and like there are a lot of things that go on with alcohol that can affect multiple different systems in your body, and your skin being one of them. I definitely noticed that if I drink a lot, like say one weekend, I will notice it like the following week I'll have a bunch of breakouts or have really dry skin. And number 7 is, this is not a helpful tip at all, but it is just accepting the fact that this might be something I struggle with for a lot of my life, and there is only so much I can do to control it. Like you can't just pick when you get acne or when it goes away or where it shows up. It just might be something I'll have to deal with and manage for a while yet, like maybe even into like my late adulthood. I have no idea. And this is a little bonus one, but I didn't really want to include it because everyone says that, and that is to drink water. Just drink water. You know, that'll solve all of your acne problems if you just drink water. I'm totally kidding. I hope you know that, but it's just, drinking water is good for everything, so just make sure you're hydrated. I wanted to kind of close out with one last thought, and that Your acne doesn't determine your worth. Your acne doesn't mean you're a dirty or uncleanly person. Acne just happens. No one gets to control it, and it sucks. It is a really shitty thing to go through, and it really does knock your self-confidence down. I wish it didn't, or at least for me it does, but I wish I didn't put so much value in my skin or take a lot of my worth from what my skin was looking like or what kind of state it was in. And as I know everyone's gotten like the advice, just drink water and wash your face. Yeah, well, obviously that doesn't do jack shit, so I wouldn't be making this video if that was the solution to all of our problems. I know I talked about it earlier, but this is something very individual to each person, and what works for me might not work for you, so play around with it. It will take some trial and error. You might not find your products right off the bat. I have spent more money than I would like to admit on different acne products and different wellness things, and I finally found some products that work for me, but I still struggle with breakouts. I probably still will for quite a while yet, but it is all trial and error and just finding what works for you. And if you're noticing that the skincare isn't really making a huge difference, maybe go look into getting blood work done or talking to your doctor. Anyways, that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye!